Today we are rocking out with our guac out, people. How's everybody doing? Ricky Dragoni here. Welcome back to my newsletter. This is episode 3 of The Swift Behind the Book. I need to have Steve do that for me and just loop it in. He does it a lot better than I do. So, today's episode 3, and I want to talk about the other sort of character in the book, the setting, the location. Now, this book is based in Northwest Iowa, where in a previous life, when I used to run factories, I spent a lot of time up there. I used to run an egg facility up there, played football up there with some friends of mine when I moved away from Des Moines. And it's a very different world. People, Des Moines is still, I call Des Moines the world's largest small town, because it still has a charm. People are still friendly. If you go to Kansas City, Minnesota, Chicago, New York, Puerto Rico, San Juan, it's a different world. But when you go to really small town in rural Midwest, it's its own culture. How people act, how everybody knows each other. It took me a while, but I always liked anthropology in college, and it was kind of an anthropological experiment being up there, especially as a minority. I mean, some places you're very welcome, some places you feel really out of place. It's just a whole different world. I mean, I know I'm repeating it, but it is what it is. So in the book, I take from those experiences and those that time I spent up there in the towns. I mean, the book ends in Fort Dodge. The kind of the climatic ending, it's around the Fort Dodge area, which I lived in for a second while I was in college, my last semester. And I visited a lot when I lived in Webster City. I lived in Garner, and I spent a lot of time in Fort Dodge. It's kind of the biggest town around, so if you want to eat anything past 9-10 o'clock that's not McDonald's, you got to go for Dodge, which they do have a community tap. Their wings there are excellent. Sorry, they're not sponsoring me, but they're just really good chicken wings. I like to eat, people. I like to eat. So, in the book, the characters they have the dynamic of a small town, on how they interact with each other, how they know each other, all the little webs. I mean, when you get into small towns, not everybody's related, but everybody has, there's just one degree of separation. Somebody dated somebody's cousin, or their second cousin, so they're been married, or and that affects how people act. I mean, there's baggage, and that really changes the dynamic of the people, and some of the characters in there, you experience that, and you see that. But when you're in a big city, people are usually strangers, acquaintances, and there's more degrees of separation to get to that person, to you. So, there's some cool scenes out there from, I do remember the snow on the cornfields, and that's on the cover. You see it a little bit on the cover. It was always, I don't know, kind of mesmerizing, magical to me. There's a solitude, there's a quietness, it's a whole different experience of your senses. You're not as overwhelmed with input as you would be, just driving to work here in Des Moines or in a big city. There, when you drive, there's really a sense of peace where you can get lost in your thoughts. So that's my little, that's where the location comes from. There's a lot of towns that I mentioned that I visited. The characters travel through the train tracks, so I hope you find that interesting. Again, subscribe and share. Like me on Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook, and happy reading. Thank you.